Is my liefdes hier so? Ja, ag jammer ek bel so veel. Ek wou net by jou hoor. Uh ons kom vanaand na jou toe. Sien uit daarna. En so aan en jy het iets vir my gesê van 'n braai.
Ja, maar dit is ek dat ons heerlijke klein gesnijde ribbetjies wat ek al 2 dae marineer het. Ek wil die vuur opsteek, ek wil dit in 'n pot gaan en in die oond gaan.
In die oond. Nee, ek wou net seker maak, want anders kan ek vir jou 'n stoofie bring. Man, een van daai houers wat charcoal, jy weet, wat jy dit so inpak. Met 'n fire lighter, maar ek dink het jy so 'n stoofie?
Maar nee, maar Rinus, jy het nog laas gesê, ek sit op ons met hierdie braai.
Ja, as jy nou net so 'n stoofie het, want daai braai trek heeltemal goed, die kachel, verstaan jy?
Ja.
Dis heeltemal 'n lekker ding daar. Maar jong, ek het net gevind dat dit is daarom net die maklikste om so te braai. As jy daai ding het, hy maak 1, 2, 3 kole, jy sit net 'n fire lighter in die laaste deel.
Ja.
Maar ek het gesoek hier by ons, ek wou vir jou een koop. Toe kry ek hier toe gaan kyk ek hier so by Builders Warehouse in Kamerings, maar hulle het dit nie.
So it is like this is not the worry.
Want jy bring
Pudding, ja. Gaan na koekbak met arbei. Warm maak. Ek het nou die arbei.
There we go. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I think we are going to start. And welcome, Puti, Tia, Tolofelo, and the people that are normally here. We are very happy to have you all here this morning. And today is our second session about supported employment. So, Marie, you can just move this, just click, or can I also? No, I can't control it. If you can just go. Okay. So inclusivity and Down syndrome, and it's all about helping families to prepare adults with Down syndrome for meaningful work. So it's very important to understand that everyone can contribute when given the right opportunity and support. I've been talking the other day to a parent, and she said her child was kept in a school not to go to the supported employment section because they said she's not ready. And then I told her, but it's not about readiness. It is about finding the job for the child. The job must be ready for the child, and then we start from there. Okay, Marie, you can click. Okay, so today's session is then just a recap of session 7 that we had last time. And it's about success stories and some case studies, and also what employment opportunities are existing for our children, and how to find work and how to keep a job. So you can go on, Marie.
All right. Now it's my turn.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to show a video. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be in on this cold winter's morning in Pretoria. We would like to give you sort of a bird's eye view of what is possible in terms of employment for people with Down syndrome. And I need to reinforce the idea that the whole world has already moved this way. In our country, I think where we were pioneers in supported employment, we've fallen back a bit, because you'll see that globally, even across our own continent, many people with Down syndrome are now working in the open labor market. And I think I'm going to show this video just to give you an idea of the kinds of work that people are doing and how meaningful it is for everyone who's in the workplace. So I'm going to show the video and then ask a few questions about it.
I think employment is very important for all people.
I am Ashish from Nepal. I work at Just Lab in Kamchatka, Bhaktapur.
I am a regional administrator for Parent-to-Parent Greater Canterbury. It is in Christchurch, New Zealand.
The office has given me a car to drive for office work, so this is one of the cars I'm driving. Right now I'm on the way. I picked the car from the office and I'm going to do some work outside the office.
It is important for me to go to work because I like to get paid. I would like to have enough money.
I am a motivational speaker. Just recently I've been to Toronto to a summit and meetings, and I got to speak there.
He trabajado como anfitrión, como asistente administrativo y como apoyo en el restaurante de un hotel.
I help the teacher with lessons and to stimulate the learners. When the teacher has other responsibilities, I take over as teacher and I enjoy it so much.
Juan Elías, ¿usted trabaja?
No,
¿Y le gustaría trabajar?
sí,
Ah, muy bien. ¿En qué le gustaría trabajar?
hidroponía.
And having a job makes me feel like I can contribute.
Puedes comprar tus cosas solo, puedes vivir solo, puedes ser más independiente, puedes tomar tus propias decisiones como cualquier persona.
So the children in my school fill a huge empty space in my life.
Pero que nos hace más independientes. La gente ve que podemos hacer muchas cosas y que somos adultos.
I would like to tell the world that every Down syndrome person should have the right to go to work just like every other human being.
Righto, there you have it. I think it was quite illuminating to see the wide range of jobs and also the wide range of context that working in the open labor market isn't just reserved for people living in urban areas. It's also wherever you are, you can find a job and work. So I would like to involve you a little bit more in the discussions today. I'd like some people to suggest what have they seen, what kind of jobs did the people in the video do. Marta, if you could just see when people put up their hands, you don't even have to put up your hand if you don't find the hands up button. You can just speak. Otherwise, Marta's going to pounce on you. Anyone want to
Good
venture?
morning.
Yes, morning.
I saw like a barista and like assistant teacher or helping as assistant in school. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very well. And what else? Did anyone else saw any other jobs?
I saw a motivational speaker,
a guy involved in gardening.
And a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Motivational speaker, yeah. And what else? Lab assistant.
Yeah, that was surprising, eh?
Yes. Okay, let's hear. Someone else wanted to speak?
I think the other lady dropped out.
Oh, she did.
Only Putty and Tia here.
Okay, about George, I can tell you a little bit with the driving guy, the guy who drives.
Yeah.
Those of you who don't know George Okude, he's from, I think, Uganda. He was never diagnosed. Well, nobody ever knew he had Down syndrome. They only found it out when he was an adult. But then he'd already gone through ordinary school, right through, started work, everything. Now he's even driving. And that was all before they found out that he has Down syndrome. So I sometimes thought he was just lucky not to be noticed. So he could live such a normal life. Yeah. So he's always one of our speakers on the big webinars and so on. Okay, let's hear what people, wasn't it? Oh, yes, just one other thing. I was always so fascinated the time I had the opportunity to go to India. The transport is always such a big issue, and I found that in these countries like India, where people go about in tuk-tuks and or even in the Central African countries, they drive on the back of what they call a boda motorbike, so transport isn't really an issue. Public transport is just so prevalent. Anyone has access to it, so they can get to work easier. Our country isn't so easy to drive independent, or to go into public transport independently. But in any case, I think what you all noticed is a level of independence that they all had. And if they didn't have it before they started working, they acquired it in the workplace because so much was expected of them in that sense. And then the second question, can someone give me some comments of what they said about why they find working important? Anyone?
They say they add value. They feel important
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
contribute. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
good.
But the chappie from New Zealand was very strong on one point. I don't know if you can remember what he said, why it's so nice for him to work. It's the money. They want the money. He wants money. So he liked being paid. And I think that's also really important that people have their own bank accounts, get paid, as we said, our motto is real work for real pay. Right, I'm going to go on to the next slide. And I don't know why my computer is a bit slow today. Sorry. Oops. Just a minute. Okay, so we're just going to do a little recap on why employment matters, a recap of what we did last time. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. It's important because it's about much more than earning money. Actually, I have emphasized the money part now, but it also provides purpose, as I said, independence, self-esteem, social connections. All of us who have children in the open labor market know how important the social connections are, that they even meet after work, go to sports events together. It's a place where people it takes away the isolation and the loneliness. So it's really important for people to be at work the whole day. It adds to their dignity and sense of self-worth. It makes them part of the community in which they live, especially those who work in their own community. They start getting, and I think the more informal your sector employment possibilities, like working in spaza shops and things like that, the better your chances to become more integrated into your community. And very ultimately, it reduces the family dependence. And we will talk a little bit about the what we call the benefit trap, or the trap of being afraid you're going to lose your grant. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but it really is important for people to become less dependent on the family finances. And then just finally, research and practical experience consistently show that employment improves quality of life for people with intellectual disabilities. In fact, the life expectancy of people with Down syndrome over the last 3 decades has gone up to over 55 or 60 years, whereas previously it was under 50 years. So just the fact that you work gives you better life expectancy. And I also think it combats the early onset of Alzheimer to some extent, or dementia, because it really keeps your brain alert when you are working. Right, so next is there's been a huge shift in thinking in Down syndrome. In the past, we thought people with Down syndrome can't really work. And that was a time when they thought they can't even go to school. Then they also always thought that, as Hanley said, training must go on forever. So they were in training centers. Even the old special schools were called training centers, and that's where they stayed for life, And sheltered workshops were the only possibility. And please note that I am not denigrating sheltered workshops. I think that our own business enterprises, we've got a lot of our own members who are doing such good work in the sheltered workshops. In fact, many people with Down syndrome previously couldn't get into sheltered workshops and doing wonderful work there now. But it shouldn't be the only option. But I think in general, the problem in the past was low expectations. Within the family, within society, within the labor market. So the new thinking is that actually everyone can work. And I think you saw on the video, there are people who don't have such good speech, but they are still working. We also found the thinking now is that employment is possible with the right support. Ordinary jobs in ordinary places is where you have to find a job that's going to work for a young person. Focus on strengths and abilities rather than on the disability, and supported employment has now emerged specifically to challenge the belief that people with intellectual disabilities cannot succeed in the labor market, because this is a well-established practice now that if you get a little bit of support in the workplace, Magda is going to tell you much more about that, then they can do quite well. So what is the supportive? We handled this last time. The definition is that supported employment enables people to work in real jobs, in real workplaces, earn wages, but they have someone who help them at the work to understand their work, to break down their work. So the key principles is you placement first and then training on the job. We did emphasize the fact that in many of these special schools, the old notion was to train them skills and craft so that they can get a job in the craft market. But the idea now is get them to learn how to work, have all the pre-vocational skills, placement first, training on the job, giving them individualized support, giving them real wages, inclusion, and ongoing support. It's the support doesn't have to be as intensive all along, but then later on it can be withdrawn. But if the job changes, then a new support is needed. The 5 valued principles is that, and we have this great friend in Ireland, Christy Lynch, who taught us so much. It's all about dignity, choice, relationships, ordinary places, contribution. This is a nice picture of our young adults who are attending Down syndrome Pretoria's school to work program. You can see that they are a small community, that they have a whole lot of good relationships with each other. It's about making friends, having a purpose in life, getting an income, independence, and respect. There's a bit of repetition here. Okay, and lastly, the supported employment process works like this. You first choose possible work or jobs. Identify their interests, strengths, and dreams. In the video, the mother asked the boy what would he like to do. He said he wants to work in hydroponics. I can assure you, not all of our young people love gardening, but if you've been growing up on a farm or in a garden environment, then that would be your strength and where you see yourself. Then find a place, the kind of job matching. You could also precede this with a bit of job sampling, then train them on the job. Say if you have to work a photocopier, they break down the job, teach you how to use it properly, and there you go. Then maintain it, offer ongoing support. My own son, Kwesi, who works at the Department of Speech Therapy at UP, the other day they realized he gets a bit flustered when everyone asks him to help at the same time, then he doesn't know how to prioritize. So they've given him a little kind of a guide to tell people they must tell him by when do they want to have the job done so that he can plan properly what to do first. So it's about place, then train, then maintain. It's not about training forever while you're waiting until they can do the job perfectly. and then someday they might get a job. No, that is completely out. Right. So I'm going to hand over now. Oh no, I'm still on section 2. I'm going to share some success stories from our own um, area, Mamelodi. I did tell you last time about the project which Down Syndrome Pretoria did and started, and for which we were awarded by UNESCO, the Ntiro project. Ntiro, these are all the people who are part of the Ntiro project. Ntiro means work. I think in Venda, I can't remember. Someone will have to help me. Can someone shout out if they can remember in Tiro, if it's in Venda or Setswana? I can't remember. It was a pioneering project, supported employment project established in Mamelodi. I think last time I told you that all the young adults, we found 60 young adults at Chehufatsong School. It was 1998, and they were all over the age of 21. Some were as old as 40 years old, still at school. And so the Department of Education, the Gauteng department, decided we had a very progressive director at the time, and I was working in the district office. So we decided to get them out of school and find them real work. Our vision was that we wanted to show the Mamelodi community that employment of people with intellectual disabilities is a possibility. They don't have to be just stuck in a separate facility where nobody ever sees or gets to know them. This was one of our first chaps that got a job as a telephone, as a receptionist. We also felt that they would then become more included in the community because people would see them working and be more accepting. It was all about their economic empowerment, about independence, and the project did manage to demonstrate to quite a lot of people in the township that people with intellectual disabilities can really succeed. We appointed a few job coaches that went with them. Those were very young and energetic people who found the jobs, got them placed, trained them on the job. The first success story was Itu Maleng. She's here, she was 19, and I haven't kept in touch with her because this was already in the year 2000. She must be quite old now. She got a job as a daycare center assistant, Tabong daycare center, and she did wonderful work there. It was just such a new lease on life for her and her family that she could go out. The place was quite close to their home, so it wasn't difficult for her to get there. She taught them colors. She taught the children counting skills. And her words were, "I can phone my job coach if I have any trouble." And the key lesson was the support creates confidence. She was a very introverted, shy individual when she started working, and she underwent a total change of personality in the job. It was just the most wonderful thing that ever happened to her. Then the next person was Lorraine. Lorraine was she didn't have Down syndrome, but she was intellectually disabled. She was in Chehufatsong as well, and she got a job at Pep stores. Can you believe that? And so it's so absolutely logical. There's so much work in Pep stores in terms of folding clothes, putting it away. They don't necessarily have to work at the counter, but her words were that now that I'm working, people don't think I'm crazy anymore. And we just found out, Martha and I, in all our engagements with families in Mamelodi, we always went on Sundays to train the parents. Some parents told us, I still remember one mother said her daughter would be vulnerable if she doesn't wear the school uniform anymore. And we told her she'll be vulnerable if she wears a school uniform in public and she's 30 years old because people will think they can take advantage of her. So it was an eye-opener also for overprotective parents. And we also found that in some of the African language, the word for intellectual disability is the same as crazy. I can't remember the word in Sesotho, but those of you who speak Setswana or Sesotho will know that this is a derogatory word that's being sometimes used. So now that she's working there, she found that nobody thinks she's crazy anymore, and they respect her for the work that she does. So it increased her self-esteem. It made contributed to her social acceptance. It gave her greater independence. Christopher, also intellectually disabled, got a job at a local panel beating store, and he does also motor repairs or assist with motor repairs. And by the way, I can also say that the new curriculum, the occupational curriculum that the Department of Basic Education is in the process of introducing, has a fully fledged motor mechanics curriculum for people with moderate intellectual disability, which is really appropriate for our own children. So I hope that that all the schools that still exist for children with intellectual disability will introduce this, because they might not become like a fully trained and certified artisan, but they can be an artisan's assistant. So in his words, he says, "I love doing panel beating." And the lesson is that we matched the jobs to the interests of the person. And we found that Christopher was actually doing this kind of work, and we found him a job at one of the businesses in Mamelodi. So there's a lot of international success stories, and it's not just it's not just in South Africa or like countries of the North, United Kingdom, Australia, Ireland, but also in Kenya. The Kenya UDBK, United Persons, Disabled Persons Kenya, has a huge job placement program, supported employment, and the same with Uganda and Rwanda. But both of all these countries have made huge progress also, incidentally, in inclusive education. So it is a natural, shall I say, outflow of inclusive education supported and inclusive employment. The kinds of works that they can do are in libraries. Obviously, if they know the alphabet, they could put the books away or tidy up. Airports, they can do a lot of work in in several areas in the airport. Retail stores, hospitals, restaurants, manufacturing companies, hospitality, retail, clerical work, and small business enterprises are places where people with Down syndrome have found work. So what makes it successful is they're reliable in attendance, they have a positive attitude, they have a willingness to learn, they are consistent, they have loyalty, they support their family and their family support them, and their employers are supportive, and the employers frequently report very high levels of reliability and commitment among employees with disabilities. Come rain and showers, they will be on the job. And I think all of us who have children in open labor market can testify to that. So now we get to section 3, and I'm handing over to Magda, and she's going to give you a lot of wonderful and interesting insights today. Over
First
to you,
to
Magda.
Hanley, ne? First to Hanley.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, and
Hanley.
just as a quick remark, Ntiro is the northern Sotho word for work.
Thank you, Magda.
Yeah.
Thank you. The northern Sotho is Sepedi. Is it? Right, Sepedi. Righto. Andy, it's your turn. I'll go on.
I'm here. You can click, Marie. Sorry, I was talking to myself. Okay.
It's fine.
So the myth is that people with Down syndrome can only do simple jobs. But the reality is people with Down syndrome work successfully in many sectors. And it's almost it's a question of trying something out first and then decide. What I've seen with Luan, for instance, the first time we placed him in a work, I thought an old age home, it's like a old age retirement village, would be a nice place for him to work. And what I found was within the first 2 or 3 weeks, I found that because older people do not really understand, and maybe we did not do the sensitizing properly, but they wanted to either baby him or they were asking questions, but why is he here? So that was one of the reasons that that we decided to not take him there. So the focus should be, what can this person do or potentially do? And sometimes it works and sometimes not, but do not stop trying. What diagnosis do they have? Hey, we do not ask this question, what is their diagnosis? It's what can this person do? Okay, Marie, you can go on. Okay, so retail opportunities, examples is shelf packing, stock control. We are practicing this at the School to Work programs often because we have to teach them how to control and how to count up to 5 and draw a line, customer assistance, cart collection, store support, pricing and labeling. I've seen often Woolworths have somebody at the door that just greets you and say, welcome to Woolworths. So why can't this child be doing that? Potential employers could be Checkers, Pick n Pay, Woolworths, Spar, Pep, and the sky is actually the limit. It all depends on nursery schools and stuff like that. Then hospitality opportunities, kitchen assistants, food preparations, waitering and support, cleaning the tables, housekeeping, laundry services, and catering assistance. Many supported employment programs internationally have achieved strong outcomes in the hospitality environments. Okay, Marie, next one. Okay, there's the picture. Luan is also going to share some pictures later. Okay. Then office and administrative work, filing. I know Cornell is doing filing at a lawyer's company, scanning documents, doing photocopying, mail distribution, data capturing, document preparation. So many adults with Down syndrome perform extremely well in routine administrative roles. Next one. When just while Marie, you can click, while Luan was also working in the library of the old age home, and then I had to make a plan how to, I bought one of these huge files that you buy at P&A with a B, C, D, E, and he could pack the books according to that and then take it to the shelves. That was just my way of supporting him. Okay, then facilities and maintenance, of course, gardening, ground maintenance, cleaning, recycling, environmental services, vehicle washing. These jobs often suit our people who enjoy practical hands-on work.
Sorry to chip in. I think I put Kwesi's picture at the wrong job, because I think the last thing he can do is grounds maintenance. He's too lazy for that. But the thing is, what he is really good at is his job has evolved at UP, because there's not so much postage. He usually does the deliveries of mail across the campus, but people are sending more and more emails now than hard mail. So his work is now to look at the lecture halls and whether the equipment is working. So he is doing something of like checking on whether everything is working for the lecture. Sorry to chip in, but here he is doing the bookbinding. Okay.
They're very good for that. And then, of course, entrepreneurship. Hey, so not everyone needs traditional employment. Hey, Luan has a side hustle, if I can call it like that. He's making mugs. He is doing photography. He is doing work with engraving. And now he also started to produce with 3D printing, some product awareness products. So that is, so they can start. And then, of course, like the girl said in the video, they can do, she is a self-advocate and she's doing awareness talk. Right. So
Yes.
banking businesses, dog walking, baking, sorry, not banking, baking businesses, dog walking. I know some of our students are having stalls at different festivals where they sell fudge and other baked items, dog walking, but then you must not be scared of dogs, of course, gardening services, craft businesses, car washing. Okay, we said this. And we must also look at the physical health of the child. Luan struggled. The main reason he struggled also at the old age home, or not old, the retirement village, was that at that stage, he did not have his hip replacements yet. But after the 2 hip replacements, he had one at the age of 21 and then at 24, but now he's very mobile. So he tires sometimes, of course, because also a little bit of laziness, of course, but now he's up and around and the pain is not there anymore. So we have to also look at the physical strength of the child. And now it's Magda's turn. Thank you, Magda.
Hi, everybody. All right. So obviously last time we gathered, we spoke about to start early in school already, to develop the work habits and the time management. And this can start in your house, in your daily routine as well. Giving your child more responsibility to get up on time in the morning and use a clock and use a hourglass and whatever you can use to assist in his time management, and then giving some instructions to get him to have more responsibility at the house, certain tasks that he does, but also in school. And communication skills is important in a workplace, to know when to ask for help, when to how to solve a problem, what to do. And that is for some of our adults very difficult to communicate, because they are taught to keep it in and just go with the flow with the family. So giving them the choice what to do and how to do things and when to do things is vital. And research has shown that school to work planning, the transition programs is very important. And some of the special schools are already doing this. If your child goes to a mainstream school, then the responsibility falls on you, and they then together with your responsibility, the teacher and the routine and the everything that goes on in an ordinary school, and the ordinary examples of the kids around him will show him how to solve problems, and they learn from one another. So preparation early on, from childhood on through schooling, to learn those basic skills. We're not talking here about job specific skills. We're talking about basic employment skills, right? To have those basic things. So how you start, as Marie said earlier, if you are the parent that would try to get your son or daughter into a job, you would know your child's strengths. There are a variety of different worksheets and ideas online that you could also contact us if you want to know what to look for. But the basic things is, what does the person enjoy? What are they good at? What motivates them? What tasks do they complete independently? And then you try to match their strengths and interests to a type of a job. So in my case, for instance, for Cornell, he loved animals. We could see he lights up when he when he works with animals. He also liked to dress up and to be look as if he's going to an office, and always try to dress up for that. He loves that. So, and he also, through his schooling, could read and write. So we started off with job sampling at a veterinarian in the area. And we also started with an art kind of setup with framing, people who did framing. And he had odd jobs doing some kind of framing things. So we early on realized he loved the arty things and working with his hands and pasting a picture in a frame and stuff like that. But his accuracy wasn't good enough for that. So that was the first thing. The other thing for the animals is we realized in the front office of the veterinarian, when the people come there and they sit and wait, the doggies sit and shiver, and he was there to calm them down. But that posed a problem because some dogs and animals didn't like to be, petted and so forth, and that really, he got scared for some of the dogs. So we realized that's not a good fit. And he is also my son is also very clean and every time a doggy sat on his lap and the dog went to the vet, he wanted to clean himself afterwards, to get himself sorted so that he's clean and presentable in his view, and that people saw that as, sorry, Cornell, my dog made you dirty now, or whatever. So that wasn't a good fit. So then we went to a bookkeeper, and I thought, okay, bookkeeping, paperwork, dressing up, the routine, and so on. But this lady, then she cancelled, then she wasn't available, then she said you could come, and then he had to do this part, and then he had to do that part. So there wasn't good enough routine there. So, so this is just an idea to give you an idea of you as the mother or father knows your child's strengths. Is he strong enough with his arms to pick things up? Does he like to work outside, inside? Does he like to work with animals, with people? Does he like to dress up, etc., etc.? Okay, so that gives you a little bit of idea of how you go about to identify the strengths. Next one, Marie. So then as I said, we started to, you build work experience. So possible opportunities is to volunteer of job shadow, have an internship, which is a difficult thing to get into nowadays with all the red tape and the qualifications you've got to have to go into an internship. Learnership's the same, community work, and just people that would give him an opportunity, your son or daughter an opportunity to go and learn on the job. This would always be with a job coach, which is a labor-intensive phase, because you can't leave the person with a job where he's just going to volunteer or job shadow. You've got to go with him as a job coach in the beginning, right? So this is where we always got stuck in the past, because this is a volunteer phase where there's no money involved. So somebody's got to carry the cost for a job coach to go with a person with Down syndrome to go and do volunteering, job shadowing, job sampling, or so forth. And if it's a soft landing place, a smaller business, friends of yours, family of yours who knows your child and who knows the person with Down syndrome, then you could get away with coming in, leave for a few days, then going in early on in the morning, leaving him there for an hour or two, and then somebody in the workplace, a natural support person, could take over. But not many businesses allow that. So, as I said, this is where our program of supported employment and in our country, we got stuck because the funding for a full-time job coach for each person with Down syndrome is a difficult ask from a funder. So you either as a mother or father or a sister or brother have to assist, or you need to have somebody identified in the workplace who's going to keep an eye and assist the person with Down syndrome through the process of volunteering, job shadowing, or job sampling. But this experiences that the person has in different places builds their confidence, and they learn through their experience how a workplace works, how people act in a workplace, and what goes on behind the scenes, because it's easy to say, I want to be a bookkeeper's assistant, but you don't really know exactly what's going on. And this is how the person with Down syndrome get exposed to that and learn from that. And clearly, within the first few days, you will see if this can be a good match. Please don't be easily, wat is die regte woord? Disheartened, put off. Yes, thank you. For when they don't want to go there in the first day or two, push through and get them to experience some of the job to be able to see if they get it right. And that if they do get it right, it builds their confidence tremendously. All right. Next slide. So you develop the employment skills. As I said in the previous slides, some of the skills are on school level, some are even in your house. Work skills, following instructions. If you think of your house, for instance, just giving instructions to your child to do 2 or 3 things, and even writing it down for them, and pushing through that they complete the tasks, and help them to look at the quality of their work. And this can be unpacking the dishwasher, picking up the doggy's poo, giving the doggies food, whatever. Social skills, greeting people, this can be practiced throughout their life from an early age. When people come over, when you go to any function, any place, any community gathering, greeting people, showing and mimicking to your son and daughter how to do this, and also teamwork, working together with your child, and also in school setup to do that. But this translates then to the workplace, where you would help and assist your child to foster these skills in a workplace when they do volunteering and when they do job sampling, how to communicate and so forth. The independent living skills, it all depends on the child's, where they live and how the travel would work to a workplace, how the money is managed. All of our children or adults with Down syndrome who are working at the moment have got their own bank cards. They're very meticulous about their bank cards and how they draw money and working out budgets, etc. And it also assist, you've got to focus also on personal care. So how you dressed when you go to work, combing your hair, making sure you're neat and tidy and presentable. And something that I want to add here is respecting people's personal space, because in some aspects, persons with Down syndrome tend to be over effective, and when they greet people, want to hug and stand close and hug all the time, and and they don't respect those boundaries. So it's vital for us as parents to work on that. And a job coach would also assist a person with Down syndrome to say what is appropriate and what is not appropriate regarding
Well,
personal space.
Can
Sorry,
I
yes.
just say something? Parents, don't be concerned about the reading. Magda mean, yes, reading. There are children that can read, but it can be picture reading as well. So it can be a schedule based on pictures. I'm just scared that some parents would feel, but my child will
No,
never
for
work
sure.
because they can't read. Picture reading is fine. Yes.
There are a lot of work, different jobs where you don't have to be able to read, and it can be pictures showing you the steps, and you can start this already at home. How to bake an egg. You can have the pictures, and it's so easy to get it from the internet, and you print or have on your phone the different steps, and you say, step 1, you put the pan on the stove. You've got a picture of a pan. Then you put a little oil in, whatever. So for them to do it themselves is vital. We shouldn't do stuff for our kids. You only jump in and take over the eggs when there's a fire. So you really go and leave them and guide them verbally and with pictures how to do it himself, because that creates such a pride in each of our adults and kids for them to be able to do it themselves. Obviously, look out for any danger, and then you jump in. That is just one example. So you don't have to have written, don't have to be able to read and have written instructions. You can have picture instructions for them to do any task at home, and also then in the workplace, any task to be done there once you've identified the tasks. Okay, so then we go to how to find a job. So now you've identified the strengths. Now, how do you get a job? So obviously you determine this person that you deal with, this adult needs a job inside, and you need a quiet environment, you need a small firm or a small company, and they want to do, for instance, administration, some kind of work, or you decide that the kind of work is outside in the open air, they like gardening, and then you determine which area the person lives in, and try, because logistically it's got to work for the family. So if you find a job in Johannesburg and the person stays in Pretoria, it will be difficult for the parent to get the child to the job. So obviously logistics plays a role, the area, the suburb, and the type of job. So you identify that and you brainstorm with the family and you tap into the family's networks. So the job seeker is part of this. That's the man or woman with Down syndrome, the employee. You are maybe the job coach who's going to facilitate the process. Maybe there's a supported employment service like the Down Syndrome Association involved, an NPO or a company that does this. And the circle of support are the members of the family and the community in which they live, and their business networks and other recruitment agencies that are involved in the area. So what you do is you start phoning, you get a name or two from the family, you drive there, you go on social media and search, you look in the printed media, and you see what is available there on Facebook, whatever. And if you identify something, then you talk to the family and you reach out to the possible employer, right? So that is how to go about this. This is a difficult phase because as you know, we are dealing with a lot of unemployment in our country, and jobs that are might be suitable for many of our adults will also be suitable for a large percentage of unemployed persons in our country. And people are so, hard up for work that an employer advertising for a specific type of job and wanting an employee would maybe get hundreds of applications. So having a personal inroad is always a good thing. I think in Marie's case, they knew the people from the university. In our case, I knew the attorney where Cornell is working at this point. And in Hanli's situation with Luan initially in his job that he had before he started working at the Down Syndrome Association, they also knew the family, and that personal inroad, I call it a soft landing, right? And the persons are then more inclined to give your child a chance instead of looking at hundreds of CVs of other people that might be also qualified for the job, right? So it's vital for that personal connection that the family has who can lead to a possible placement. Okay.
There's just one thing I'd like to say here. You have one bullet up your sleeve, and that is that you can persuade them that if they're a company of over 50, it will help them with their equity slates. Yes. So that is one bonus that we have. They can then tick off that they have employed someone with disability, because you would have seen that the presidency has actually set a target of 7% in the employment. Yes. So everyone has to sort of work towards it. The other thing that I also just want to say, Magda, I know that this is also, you also feel very strongly about this. Under no circumstances must you fall for the soft option of having them work for free. That is always a tendency. They said, we'll take him. He does a full day's work and they don't pay him. So that one must also not encourage and be very alert to, because when people are a bit doubtful, then that's something that could easily happen. Okay, can I go to the next slide?
Yes, you can. You can.
Okay.
In
so our
Italy,
next step.
Sorry, I just want to mention in Italy, if a company has 15 employees, they have to take a person with disability. So President Ramaphosa must listen to Italy as well.
Yes. I don't know how it works with us, but I just think it's to the benefit of any company to have people with disabilities, but you've got to just make them realize that. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Right. So you then build relationships with the employers. Families and association can approach local businesses, explain the process of supported employment, share the success stories that we've now spoken about today, offer job coach support, and many employers are willing to consider these opportunities once you address the misconceptions. Because people might think, oh, they will have to take this person on and they must train them and they must be able to do a certain job. What also helps is to also clear it out with the employers that we do not expect that the person necessarily work their full day. If it can be a few hours and so forth, but we'll deal with that later in some of the other slides. So the hours can be tweaked, the responsibilities can be tweaked, the work speed can be tweaked, and all of that, so taking the load off employers to let them understand that it can be easier than they think it would be. And just asking for the chance and also offering the opportunity to enrich their workforce. Because in our case, what Cornell's employer stated is that the rest of the staff, look up to what Cornell does. They obviously have different tasks and different higher functioning kind of jobs and job descriptions. But the fact that Cornell is there every week, dressed to the T, doing what he does, and so motivates them also to do their best in their specific jobs. All right. So the next step is then phase 2, when you approach the employers. Say you get an inroad. Somebody says, okay, you can come and see me. Then do your research of that specific employer. Go read online, prepare a CV for the candidate that you want to place. Have some marketing material ready. So you spy a bit on them online. You go on the internet, you've got a letter of recommendation, you maybe have the CV ready, you've got your business card, and you know what is the person that you try to place there, what are their skills, their preferences, what education background they've got. So you've got your ducks in line. So that when you sit down with the employer, have everything ready and know what that employer does, what type of jobs could be a good match for the possible candidate. So you think ahead of time, I can say. You don't just go there unprepared, right? So this is the preparation phase and then going to see the employer. So the next slide, where you then approach the employer. It's a one-time opportunity. Be organized and prepared. Importance of the person who referred you to employer. In other words, if it's the parents who referred you, you make mention of that. You let the person know it is their friend or their friend's circle or a colleague of them that referred you, and it's their child that you want to place there maybe, and you make an appointment. Don't say too much over the phone. And then the face-to-face informal contact works well. So when you meet them, you adapt to the type of employer and how you know him or her. You don't have a fixed speech. So you play it by ear, adapt to the situation. Remember, first impressions last. This is just you now going to meet the employer. You provide more information about the service that you provide. If they know the job seeker, and they say, yeah, bring him along, let us meet him and let him look around. Then you could bring the job seeker along to the first appointment. But I would strongly advise that you first go and meet the employer, then identify the needs of the employer. He would say to you, listen, here in our office, we do this and this and this. Or in this nursery, we've got a contract with Woolworths and we've got to work very hard every Tuesday. So you listen attentively what their needs are, and they've got targets that they want to make. They've got certain goals that they need to reach weekly at a certain time. And listen to what frustrates the employer and the other employees working there, and point out how this could possibly, how you could assist when some of these frustrations and some of these needs could be met. The person with Down syndrome could be part, as I said, of the meeting, but I would maybe go alone for the first time. Okay, so that's the second step, approaching the employers. Some more information on that. Next slide, please, Marie. Then if they want to have an interview with a job seeker. Now, we call it an interview. If you apply for a job in the newspaper, then they would invite you for an interview, and that would be a very formal kind of thing. But if it's what more often happened with most of us is that it was somebody we knew, somebody who gave us a chance, right? Then you would prepare the employer with information about the person with Down syndrome. You would say this, and this is, for instance, this picture was Tamise. This is Tamise. Tamise is, this is her age, and she's gone to these schools. So you would have the CV there, and possible questions could be asked. And if you take Tamise to the workplace, then you would also prepare Tamise for what's going to happen. If there's any objections, it might be a lack of knowledge from the people's side. You would think of objections. Maybe they would say, listen, would they not get tired easily? Or some questions could be, or concerns could be, listen, but who's going to be with her? Can she speak clearly? Can she understand when we explain something to her? Would she be able to make her own cup of coffee? Can she read and write? Some questions of that, like that. You would prepare possible answers to their concerns and focus on the person's potential and the support that's going to be provided, and make sure that you are always we will be in touch. Let's meet to analyze. So possible outcomes could be they will say, we will be in touch with you. Or let's meet to analyze positions in my company. Or let's try and match somebody. Or we like Tamise, let's give it a go. Or let's introduce the workplace during job sampling for a start. Now, job sampling would be free, but once there's a full-time position identified or there's a job agreed on, then there must be some kind of salary accompanying that. Okay, so this phase 2 of approaching the employers, there's a lot of negotiation going on here. There's a lot of preparation from your side as the job coach to be able to match and be ready for any possible scenario and any possible question that could be asked. Sometimes taking the person that gave you this employer's name, like the mother or the father or somebody in the family or a co-worker, taking that person along as they know the employee or the future employee, and they know the employer, bringing them together and having that person there could also be beneficial. Okay. All right. So then, that we jumped one. So then we've got a possible a job. The person said, okay, let's give it a go. So what you as the job coach then would do is you would spend time in the workplace. You would go there alone, not with the person with Down syndrome at first. You would observe what they're doing. You would talk to some of the employees who know the specific jobs that are there and who are performing the tasks. You would actually yourself perform some of the tasks to see what is needed. So you would spy on them, but they would know you're there, right? So you would use some notes, voice notes, videos, and you would identify certain critical skills that are needed for that specific job. Let's look at a nursery. You would have to identify that somebody, the critical skill would be they must be able to lift heavy things up, for instance, or they must be willing to get their hands dirty. They must be willing to work outside, right? So obviously you wouldn't have searched for this job outside if you didn't know initially the person likes to work outside and likes to work with plants. In a setup inside, you would look at what are the administration, what type of tasks, work is needed, and identify, does the person have to read? Does he have to write? Does he have to deal with the public? Does he have to follow instructions? And how could that be tweaked and adjusted for his situation? All right, next slide.
Can I just say something too?
Yes.
I think the more of this work you can give to the company themselves, if they could appoint someone who will be the job coach in-house, they or if it doesn't work initially, you could start, but when you withdraw, the company must take over and have a job coach, because companies understand their own workplace better and where they can use him. So it's just an option, if it's not an external job coach. Am I right, Magda?
Yes, yeah. When you are there as the outside person to come in,
Yes.
there would be somebody, there's always
Yeah.
somebody,
A
a
focus
natural
person.
support person,
Yes.
that would say, no, don't worry, I will help him. You would then work with that person to sort of
Yes.
prepare them for the job coaching role.
Yes.
But in the beginning, providing that support is it's setting the employer's mind at ease.
Yes.
They would show you around the employees of the company. They would show you what they're doing. And then through that interaction, you would also be able to identify certain things, how you can make it easier for the client, and how the job can be tweaked and adjusted.
Yeah.
But we're getting to that in the later stages. But a
Yes.
natural support person is vital. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to give an example of what happened to us. The university said the lady she says she's a trained industrial psychologist. She doesn't need a job coach. She'll do it herself. And so after 6 weeks, the university called us and said, no, Chrissy can't stay. So we had such I think Magda can still remember it. We were quite traumatized by that. And we tried to find out what was the problem, and what was happening is Kwesi had decided that the nicest place in the Faculty of Humanities for him to have his morning tea was the dean's office. So he would go there for tea time every morning, to the dean's office. And it was so embarrassing for the university. They didn't know how to handle it, because obviously it didn't work that he goes to the dean's office for his tea time break. So they said he must rather leave, and it just showed that the person in-house had all the skills in the world, but she didn't understand the particularities of Down syndrome and the quirks they have, and how to put them in their place, So we went back and negotiated afresh, and then it did turn out that a job coach was needed. Sorry for the little
I
story.
hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is good to have practical examples to explain how you deal with it. So then when you get to the workplace as the job coach, then you might have to redesign a job. There might not be a job for the person in the workplace as it is. So modifications is the one thing. You might have to change the environment or the station where they work, provide more light, change the direction or the height of the chair or the table, changing the place of work to minimize distractions. If they're sitting in the foyer, they want them to sit in the foyer to work there, where the telephone is ringing all the time and people are walking in and out, and there's a lot of distractions. It might be, or they're next to the copy machine and everybody walks in and out. Or there's a lot of stairs and the person is not good with stairs. you might have to change and ask, could this person maybe sit there and there and there? You don't do that on the first day when you're there. You just observe, and you're not pushing and you're not too pushy, because then it presents a problem to them, right? So you just request as time goes on if you might change it here and there to accommodate this person. This is part of reasonable accommodation, right? It may be that instead of him walking over to another place to get a stapler or stationery or markers or a letter opener, he could have his own things, right, on his desk where he works, for instance, or in a nursery, have his own scissors, or somebody working beside him, showing him how to open the baggies to put the soil in, whatever, assisting him with a smaller shovel, whatever. You look at the job and see what might the person struggle with, what might you have to adjust a bit. This could be done before the person enter into the workplace, or when he's there on the job, while you see, oh glory, he struggles, and he doesn't want to walk to another table to get a stapler. He struggles to open a bag to put the soil in, whatever. Then you adjust and make suggestions to the employer to change certain things, to modify the job. Next slide. You also might have to restructure the job by adding certain tasks to the job, taking away certain things that might not be suitable for the person, changing the sequence. It could mean you do job stripping, removing tasks from the regular job description due to difficulty or disability, carrying heavy objects, for instance, reading instructions. You could also enrich by adding new tasks, collecting the mail for more contact with co-workers, because you don't want him to sit and most part of his work is on his own, and to have more interaction with some of the others, you add something to his job description to get him to interact with the others more. Right, so that's job redesign or job restructuring. Okay. Job creation, that could be you develop a new position altogether. If you look at the picture at the bottom, you might have a co-worker that has got a very high qualification, but part of her job is to do certain menial tasks, the green ones, right? And co-worker 2 as well, and co-worker 3 as well. So it might be repetitive, routine things that frustrates them because they can't get to their other tasks in their job description, and this is wasting their time. So if you're on the job, you identify this. Often is how it works, right? So this is a very popular way of creating a specific job in the workplace, and convincing the employer that he employed co-worker 1, 2, and 3 for a huge salary, and they're not getting to the blue part of their work because they're spending time of their work day on things that the person with Down syndrome can do. So let's carve a job for this person and take those green dots away, and there's a new position created, and there would be higher functioning and more productivity for co-worker 1, 2, and 3, because they would have more time now to spend on the tasks that really they are qualified for, and that it's going to push the production of the company up. So this is something that you would only see if you are there, sort of working with them in the beginning, seeing what frustrates the other co-workers, asking them, what are some of your tasks that you feel is wasting a lot of time, irritating you, frustrating you, that you don't get to, and that is causing a backlog in the company. So shredding, for instance, copying, carrying things to and fro, filing, and stuff like that. Collating, opening a new file. In a nursery, for instance, carrying things to and fro, opening bags before the soil gets put in, watering the plants, whatever. So there's in every job, I can tell you that from experience, you can carve a new position for a person with Down syndrome, and they would be excellent at those routine repetitive tasks, and the others will be forever thankful. Right, the other co-workers, because they don't want to do those things. Right, so now we get to reasonable accommodation. It's a modification or adjustment to a job or a work environment that will enable the qualified applicant or the employee with a disability to participate in the application process or the job function. It's often inexpensive and simple, and it should not cause unjustifiable hardship to the employer. So it's an adjustment made to the system to accommodate the person. And in the Employment Equity Act, a job coach specifically is mentioned as a reasonable accommodation for employment of a person with intellectual disability. So it's all to do with equality and equity. As you see the picture there, if you treat everybody equal, they're not all going to be able to pick those fruits and do that job. But if it's equity and you give them each what they need to be able to do the job, then they will all be successful at the job and the productivity will change. And that little step that is added to for the shorter person is just one example. This could be for somebody who's blind, it could be braille. For somebody who's in a wheelchair, it could be a ramp. For all kinds of different disabilities, there are different reasonable accommodations in the workplace. In our case, the job coach is a necessary accommodation. It could be, there's a variety of different reasonable accommodations. Let's go to the next slide. We've got a few there. It includes your way of teaching, your way of designing a job, the work schedules, the materials, the tools needed. It could mean assistive devices, a picture schedule, a communication card. It could mean the way communication happens in the workplace, shorter sentences, rephrasing, putting it in writing, putting it in picture format, clearer instructions, shorter instructions, one instructions, etc., etc. It's getting the help you need to do the job you need to do. And there's a variety of different ways to do a reasonable accommodation. Okay, next slide. So the role of the job coach is to match the person, to train on site, to support the employer, to support the co-workers, assist with problem solving. Now, the Ntiro project identified job coaching as a key success factor. There's the different models again for supported employment. Could be one person and a job coach. It could be in a business, a few blue faces, a few persons with Down syndrome or intellectual impairment, and one job coach full-time employed. And it could be a co-worker as well that's got that added to their job description. Different businesses, the mobile crew, or the entrepreneurial model. At the bottom here, what the job coach does is they introduce and orientate the person to the workplace. They get to know the job and the company culture, help the person with Down syndrome to get to know the job, stabilize the person in the job, fade out slowly, and follow up from time to time with the employer to make sure things are going well, and be a phone call away. If there's a problem arising, then you can go and assist. So that's the role of the coach. Next slide. Right, so now how to keep a job. Obviously, employers value reliability, attendance, positive attitude, teamwork, punctuality, good communication. And these are more important in all aspects than academic qualifications. So if you've carved a job out for the person, then for them to be reliable and go to work regularly, be positive, work in a team, be punctual, that is all vital for any employee and for any employer. Okay. So the common challenges may be transport, anxiety about the workplace, social misunderstandings, changes in the routine. It could be a big adjustment for a person to now get up early in the morning and go there and a different routine and so on. So working through that with the person, letting him adjust, assisting with routine changes, giving him a picture chart of what are the functions, what by this time in the morning he's got to be able to do that. By that time he goes for tea. By this time he does that. So giving some support and some cues and some visual aids to assist him to adjust to a new routine is vital to work against anxiety. Communication difficulties might also be a challenge. You say something, somebody else understands something different, and as a job coach, but also for the person with Down syndrome or the person with intellectual disability. So solutions involve planning and involve support and being there as the job coach, as the family to assist if there's any challenges arising. Transport, as we said earlier, is maybe a problem, but yeah, we've got to work through that and see how you can make it work. That's why logistically, it's better to find a job in the area where the parents live or in the area nearby the parents' workplace. So when they're on their way to the workplace for themselves as a mom or dad, then they can also drop their child there, etc. The next slide. Family support matters a whole lot. As we emphasized, the family should encourage their independence, should not be too overprotecting, allow appropriate risk-taking, as we spoke about earlier, support problem solving, and they must celebrate the achievements. And the goal is for them to be independent as adults, as independent as can be. And families should support that. To have the family on board and buying into this process is vital for the process to be a success. Okay, next one. Now, the benefits trap is we see very often. Families are scared that a person with Down syndrome would lose their disability grant. Now, the disability grant at this stage is about 2,400 and something, if I'm not mistaken. So, as far as I have it, as long as the person earns less than the taxable bracket, is that the right word? Help me here, Hanli Marie. I think it's 8,000 Rand a month, something like that. If they earn less than that, then they won't lose their grant. If they, the more they earn, they might, when they are reassessed, if they ever reassessed, they might earn less or get a lesser grant, but they would qualify for the grant still. So
there's a sliding scale.
There's a sliding scale, yes. So the more they earn, the less of a grant they'll get. The less they earn, they might still get their full grant. In Cornell's case, he earns about just over 2,000 Rand, and he still gets his full grant every month. So seek the right information, make informed decisions. That value of your child being able to work and what is sometimes, if you measure it in rands and cents, it's much more than the rand and cent that you're losing in a few rands from the grant. But for many people, the grant is a lifeline. We understand that. So, so the employment and the social grants can sometimes be combined depending on circumstances. But if you need some more information on this, you could always call us, and when we can maybe talk to the employer and see how we can come up with a solution to assist, to make sure that the person still gets his grant and earns a salary, at
And
least
one
to
must
cover the
always,
cost.
and you can also remember that if they're in a bigger environment, a big concern
Company.
like a university or so, they have benefits. So they have a pension scheme also, so that you've always got to look at all the benefits of the job.
Yeah, you must make the informed choice and decide, is then losing the grant worth it? So what employers often need information, awareness regarding the disability, they need the support, they need practical solutions. And often, as we said earlier, reasonable accommodation, which is needed for a person with Down syndrome and intellectual disability, is simple and inexpensive and could be put in place very easily. Earlier, I mentioned time as well, extra training time, extra time to do certain tasks, a shorter work day, because some adults with Down syndrome gets tired very quickly, low muscle tone, etc., etc. And that it doesn't have to be a full day's job. It could be a half day job. It could be you go to the workplace, you see when is their busiest times where they wouldn't have time to work with the person with Down syndrome. Say they are very, very busy in the early morning from 8 to 10. It might be beneficial for the person with Down syndrome to start at 10. And then somebody would be free to assist him from 10 to 3 to do his tasks. And while early morning they are very busy with other things. So, so flexible supervision, job restructuring, as I said, with time, starting times, finishing times, tasks, etc., and having visual instructions there might assist with the job, and that is part of reasonable accommodation. It's easy things to put in place and to assist him to not fail in the job. Okay.
And I also just want to add that it's very important to also sensitize them about certain behaviors. Although the person is an adult, they can, like Kwesi had this thing of drinking tea in the dean's office. Luan, at one stage, they were playing music. He was singing aloud, "Jy soen my nie meer nie." That type of thing to actually then prevent that from happening. Give them skills,
Yeah.
to say, no, this is not appropriate at work, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that, sensitizing.
Yeah. Sometimes those things cause employment to
The biggest,
fail.
yeah.
Yeah.
Small
So
things.
the small things. And then if you go in and you're on call as the job coach and assisting, and then you identify, oh, the problem is him singing. And nobody told him he shouldn't, and it's irritating everybody. Then you can
But
maybe sort it out quick.
yeah, but with the years they get to know them, and they lose the embarrassment, of not knowing what to do. So
The best thing Luan said to me the one day, one of the ladies in the office, it was her birthday, and I said, how old was she? He looked at me shocked. He said, you never ask a woman how old she is.
Cute.
And I think,
So
but
cute.
I think that was what the lady told him, so he also
Yes.
learned from that,
It
because
picks up. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was the best lesson ever.
Yeah, but it's lovely. Yeah. Okay.
All
So
right. I'm
Right.
done. Over to you, Marie.
Yeah, I want to now push on because we also have Luan as a guest speaker. So in our last 20 minutes, just to summarize, I think we've learned thank you, Magda, so many tips for the kind of contributions that everyone can make in the workplace. And we know that it improves their quality of life. It it is important to have the right expectations, not too low, not too high. Support works. Families are essential. Employers need encouragement and support at the beginning, especially because they, you know, they're not so skilled yet with Down syndrome, and they just need that bridge. And then meaningful work is really possible. Um, you just can carve it out for any kind of individual, irrespective of the severity of their disability. And then we would like to ask you a bit if there's anyone who wanted to say something now or ask us questions, you're welcome. We want to give you about 5 minutes of just airing your views. Are there any of you who have frustrations? What are your expectations? What support do you need from the association? And what employment opportunities did you think of during this session in your community that you could explore? Anyone who'd like to make a few comments, we really want to hear your voices too. Magda, if you could just watch the hands, or anyone, please feel free to speak a bit.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I'm just a teacher joining all your sessions, but for me, I've just seen that the importance of, um, even though I'm not working with a child with Down syndrome, but the importance of teaching them communication skills so that they will be able to go into a job at some point. You know, the child I have at the moment is ASD, and with him being in mainstream, he actually started speaking, and I just feel because he's got high abilities, you know, so for me, it's even more important to keep him there so he can adapt to the social skills and the communication skills, so he can actually also have a life, you know, after school and become someone. So yeah, it's important in what I see what they need eventually. So yeah, for me it it just helps me to see where you can work more on than just the academics.
What I've also seen, sorry, we have an air show here. If you hear strange noises, I do have earphones on. Oh, you don't hear. What is also important, you know, to me actually is that we often forget that the children or the young adults or the adults understand a lot more. So we tend to wait for them to reply, but then when they start doing, you see that they actually totally understand, you know. So the intrinsic language is just as important, and that they are really taught in mainstream schools, you know, and the rules of a certain office space or the rules of community, you know, it's not appropriate to do this when I am working, you know, that type of thing. Yeah.
But you are all very right. I think this communication is probably one of the best benefits of inclusive education, is the learning to speak and learning, you know, acceptable social behavior, provided the inclusion is really embraced by the school and the child is not isolated. So I think as we progress with inclusive education, children will retain their speech and their communication better. I strongly believe in that, and that is one of the most important contributing factors to success in the workplace. Any other thoughts and fears or frustrations that you as parents experience, especially some of our older parents? I don't know if we have any older parents who've really been frustrated in finding work.
Val, anything from your side with your daughter?
Hi, good morning. As far as Kerry May, we've been very fortunate. My sister has a business, and she said to Kerry May one day, "Just come and work in my office, and your mother must come with you to begin with." So Kerry May learned computer skills at school. So the work involved a lot of capturing data and putting it into invoices, and then after a while she was able to just do it on her own. And she keeps a book where she records for herself. I said to you, got to just write down the names of the customers that you do the invoices for, and so at the end of the day you can see how many you've done. So she doesn't work a full day. She goes in for part-time and 3 days a week. Sorry. And I think the rest of the employees there have been very good with her, helpful. Yeah. So she's been very fortunate. And then the other 2 days of the week she goes to Downward, which is a training a trainings business, I suppose. They make gluten-free products, and that's important for her as well, because she's been mainstream the whole life, so she's never ever really had friends with disabilities or learned how to be with other people with disabilities. I think it is a bit of a strange thing, but that's what it is. And so it was, I think it's good for her. So, it took her a while just to, I mean, not long to get used to it. And I think she really enjoys it. And so
I
all those
found,
things, teaching her to how to behave and what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, all those sort of things, it's really important.
It seems like she's got the best of both worlds to me.
Yes.
And I think the groups that Elaine started with the National Advocates and is also assisting with the friendships and a connection with the other adults with Down syndrome all over the country. Even though they gather only once a month, it's vital for my son to be in connection and hear the others and hear their stories and know Kerry May's in Cape Town.
Yes, it's very important. Yeah, it really is. And so I think those Zoom meetings are so important. And then when she actually met some of them in Pretoria at the symposium a couple of years ago, that was such an eye-opener to her, to hear everybody else's stories and to, it was very good.
Thank you, Val. I think those contributions were very valuable. So I'm going to end our part of the work, and then Hanley, you're going to get Luan online. I think by now you will know that our message is that with the appropriate training and support, many people with intellectual disabilities can become valuable and contributing members of society and have a decent life and independence through meaningful work. And we really hope that through the work that we do jointly as an association and with our parents, we can get more examples in the workplace, which will then create new opportunities for a next generation of children. I've got some resources for you, and then I'm going to end off and say thank you very much. You can contact us on the email addresses if you want, and that's all from me, Magda, and so on. And I'm handing over to Hanli. You'll share the screen, Hanli, if I'm right. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.
Luan's going to present now. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. I must just see now my sharing thing
Hi,
at the
Luan.
bottom.
Hallo Luan. Dankie.
Ja.
Jy was tyd gee. Okay. And
Jy is so
I
oulik
think
met die you are so good with the computers.
just remember to put
ja.
on the sound.
Yeah, but I can't find the Magda, Maria, I can't find the sharing button now. It's strange.
Do you want me to share? But you've changed the presentation.
I will no. Luan, I'm going to. Oh yeah, you have to share it then. Let me just see if I see here with the host stuff. Show captions, transcripts, voice,
Next to
doc.
the react button, there should be a share button.
A react button. Okay.
Next
Yeah, there's
to the
like
react.
next to the heart.
Host tools. Okay. Scale. Enter.
I told you guys he's good with computers.
Yeah. There you are. Hello,
But I don't
Luan.
see it. Log meeting, enable high profile pictures, participants.
I mean, underneath there's a participation, a chat, then the react, and then a share.
Right at the bottom
Can
of the
jy
screen.
share? Luan, can you share? Oh, there. No.
Maar weet nie of jy my toegelaat het om dit te doen nie.
Ja, nee, ek dink nie so nie.
Okay, ja,
Let me
jy
just-
het my toegelaat.
Okay. Can you share
Maar
that?
ek het nie die PowerPoint by my.
Ek sal maar myne share wat jy vir my gestuur. O nee, dis die verkeerde een. Sorry. Ek weet net. Sorry. Net die regte een kry.
It's not.
Hanlie, is dit die een wat jy vanoggend op WhatsApp geshare het?
Ja, ja.
Ek het hom hier. Ek sal hom nou Ekskuus, ek het hom nie oop gehad nie. Right, so there we are. Let's now share and then full screen.
Daar sy.
And just start the presentation. Okay.
Just tell me if it's a full screen or whether you're seeing
No,
two.
it's not. It's still.
It's starting. It's starting.
There we go.
Do you
Okay,
see?
Luan, can you see?
Yes,
Marie, you will just tap. Hi.
Yeah.
You can start tapping.
Yeah.
Okay. Luan, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Just want to do this. I am Luan Swanepoel, a 37-year-old young adult with Down syndrome. Thank you for the opportunity to tell you more about my work. Next one, please. I was employed at SE for 11 years. SE stands for Specialist System Engineering. It is a high-tech company specializing in the design and manufacture of telemetry systems.
Click. Next one. Marie, yeah. This is his certificate that he received after 10 years. And but after COVID, the company had financial problems. So they started a whole new company. Okay.
I was a technical assistant.
Next one. These are the finished
Some of
products.
the products that we made, and then it goes out to pump stations. Currently, I'm employed at the Down Syndrome Association of Swane.
I am a facilitator, almost like an assistant teacher. Some of my duties are I arrive at 6:30 at work and the association close at 4:30. I receive.
Go back.
Sorry.
Is
Sorry.
I receive the school to work students from 7 at 8. It is the conversation class. I ask the students about their evening before. I ask the students about their evening before. At 8:30, the students go to different activities on different days.
Click.
Okay. Just a minute. Sorry. Okay, there we are.
Mondays, cooking classes on Mondays. It takes a lot of preparation to teach the students to cook.
Sorry, Luan, can I just jump in there? You will see all the students have an out and the inbox. So they start off with the inbox. So on Mondays, Luan has to put the recipe in the inbox and then it moves when we are finished. But we often start already on Fridays to practice the steps. So that's why there's a on Alena's inbox and his outbox. Yes, you can click, Marie.
Which teach the students some life skills. The students learn to work with money, practice to buy food, or dramatic skills.
There's Yolandi, eh?
Yeah, Yolandi.
Yeah. Then?
Life skills, Tuesdays focus on sport.
And tell them about the table tennis.
Sorry.
Sydney Engelbrecht is the one who's starting this table tennis thing, and then we decide to bring her in more often to the students to practice more often.
Yeah,
so,
Yeah, because she's a Springbok, isn't she, Cindy?
Yeah. Yes, she is.
Okay.
Okay.
Next one. No.
Okay. That's good. Okay. One of the students is working with numbers and I am presenting.
Lovely,
next
Luan.
Next one.
Reflecting on our work.
Yeah. So a lot of our work, even in numbers, is with through games. So we play a lot of dominoes, snakes and ladders, because we've realized that a lot of the students lost their numeracy skills. So that was why we played dominoes. They play dominoes with a purpose. And that's more work. Okay, and the next one, Luan. Okay, more.
Classroom get more reflection on our work.
And then we have the themes. Every month we do, like when it's Valentine's Day, and now this month is Father's Day. So we have lots of themes that we reflect on. Okay, Luan, and the next one. Again, Marie.
Decorating the building for functions.
That was before.
Sorry.
Just go back.
The students practice working with money in a clothing store. The students also go to real job sites, dog kennels, work with animals, nursery, practice gardening.
Okay, next one.
And then, okay, yeah.
Next slide.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, yeah, you can go there. It's fine. You can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, the next one, Luan.
Friday, I do admin. Admin I plan for the next week. I make PowerPoint presentations and lessons preparation. That's okay. Putti and I are having fun
while we prepare for World Down Syndrome Day 2026.
So all the students are involved in all the activities of the association as well. And Luan was sick this week, and I can tell you it was terrible for me to with him out there, because then I only realized how huge is his role there, just to send him quickly for this and to open the office, because he also opened the offices for SSE. That was his job. He had the whole set of keys, so they trusted him with that. Yeah. I had a nice video to share, but now it's not possible. I can't. There I can share now. Let's see if I can. I just want to show you the share the sound. I just want to, and then he makes this. I just want to share now. I can't believe I couldn't share just now. I'm just going to go to in the slideshow. What he makes for the students to prepare them when they do, for instance, coffee. They make coffee. Then I want to have the slideshow from current slide. And this is then what he prepares for them.
Daar is die ketel, my beker, my teelepel, my melk, kandereel en Rico koffie, Nescafé. Hallo allemaal, mijn naam is Luan Swanepoel en welkom bij mijn YouTube channel. Ik ga vandaag vir julle leer hoe om koffie te maak. Eerstens, zet jy jou ketel aan.
Maybe move it a little bit.
Dat hy kook.
We're just going to go a little bit.
Ek gewoonlik hou daarvan om so 'n lepel koffie te drink. Ek gooi hom in.
Really
Maar die
cute.
ketel klaar moet kook.
Kettle is taking long. Oh, come on, kettle. So they watched this. Gosh.
Voel, is nie baie lekker nie.
Well, not they told them
Dis die ketel, nou voeg ek die
it's
water
hot.
by. Voilà, daar is jou water by.
It's so cute.
Nou lyk dit so. Dis hoe ek van my koffie van hou. Nou gaan ek my melk byvoeg.
We did this because Yolandi was always she's drinking the milk, or she's throwing too much milk in the.
Voilà, die melk is bygevoeg. Opgelos is. Awesome.
This is what you call entrepreneurship, eh? Blogging, you're a blogger.
Geniet. Asseblief, wees vry om 'n komment te los. Wees vry om 'n komment te los en hit the thumbs up button, the share button en subscribe die button as jy meer wil hê. Baie dankie dat jy. Daar is die ketel.
Okay, now we can stop. We'll stop sharing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Luan. It was very inspirational. Listen, okay, so let's not keep you longer. It's an exciting day, sports day for lots of people, and so we hope you have a lovely day. Thank you very much for joining the session. We'll put the recording on YouTube and share with you again as we usually do, and I'll also share the PowerPoint with you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Magda. Thanks, Hanli. We enjoyed presenting to you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Blessings,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Goed.